Welcome back to Writing with Witches, the podcast where a couple of witches sit around and talk about writing books or novels or short stories or whatever we feel like talking about that day. So
Yeah.
today we're talking about creating believable villains. But before we dive into that, my name is Leona Urbanski. I am a debut author with my first book coming out next month, Fire Magic, book one of the Deathgate trilogy. And my co-host is
I am Nicole Autumn. I am the author of the Secret Society series, which is completely published. The whole series. Yes. Yeah. So book
so
news.
yeah. Book news? Oh lordy. This week has been a week from hell with my time management. And basically, I have not had time management for this week. So I think I got one chapter of Fey Touch done, and I've been writing on Branded and Angel Leech some more, but that's about it. Nothing groundbreaking.
Yeah. I haven't written this week, but I have been going back because little bit of a spoiler at this. Well, is it a spoiler? I don't know. At this point, the launch should be live. Um I'm republishing the Secret Society series through our publishing house. So I'm going through and re-editing it, and golly, does it need it.
She was getting mad at her own writing.
I was getting so mad. I was reading this and I was like, "Oh my god. If I see the word throb one more time, I'm going to gouge my own eyes out." Like, "Oh my gosh." So, yes, I'm re-editing it and hopefully things will read a little smoother for when they are republished under the publishing house.
She's also letting me go ham on it.
Yeah, go nuts. Anything you think is wrong. I mean, obviously without changing everything because I'm not going to rewrite it, but go nuts. Mark it up. Red ink that bitch all you want.
Oh, I already started. First
Yeah.
four chapters you handed me, I think you were like, holy shit.
No, I was surprised. I was like, okay, most of them were contractions, which I saw coming. I knew that was going to happen. So I was like, okay, that's not too bad. I think one chapter had like 28 changes, which most of them were contractions, and I was like, yep, that looks about right.
It's fair.
So yeah, that's my book news. I've been re-editing things.
It's news. And it's
Yeah.
about books.
Yep. Hopefully I can get some more writing done this week. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Same. Same.
So yeah. Should we dive into this week's episodes? Episodes?
Uh
Episode.
episode. No, we're not doing multiple episodes in one night. No. No, no,
No.
no. We've done that when I was moving. I'm not doing it again.
That was rough. At that point, it would be like, you know what? You just might miss a week of content. It's all right.
It's fine.
It's 1 week. Um,
So, okay.
yeah. Villains.
Right. But
So,
first, it's
oh,
you want to do that or shall I since I'm starting
yep.
with the
Go
antagonist
for
there?
it. Go for the antagonist.
Before we wanted to clarify an antagonist versus a villain because while they can be the same character, they aren't always the same character. So, definition of an antagonist is usually a character who opposes the protagonist of a story. They can also be a group of characters, institution, or force against which the protagonist must contend. So, you can have an antagonist and a villain, and they don't necessarily have to be the same character. So, what we're talking about, though, we are going to be focusing specifically on villains, not antagonists. So,
Yeah.
the definition of a villain.
So the definition of a villain, there was a few, most of them not very thorough in its explanation, but at its simplest spot is one being blamed for a particular evil or difficulty. Um, and I think this would have It'll vary on the evil part, whether it's an antagonist or a villain. The evil is what makes one versus the other, I would say.
That's fair. Because yeah, I mean, you could have the villain is someone that existed hundreds of years ago that got blamed for what is happening, and the antagonist is a recent person that is just opposing the protagonist for some reason.
Yeah.
And to be fair, an antagonist may not always look like they're opposing the protagonist at first. There are those ones that are the flips that you find out later that they're the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be tricky writing these things.
Yeah. So for your villain, you have to start thinking, what is their motivation? Someone just doesn't wake up one day and go, I'm going to destroy the world. It's what makes them tick.
I mean, unless you're a lawful evil paladin.
I don't know what that noise was that came out of me just now. I put lotion on and all of a sudden my throat started to itch. I'm hoping I'm not allergic to it. I would
Oh,
really
I hope
stink.
not. That would stink.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was just like my throat got itchy. Um so yeah, motivation. There's got to be some motivation that is driving your villain to do the evil or terrible things that they're going to set out to do. That really could be anything. It could be money related. It could be love related. Someone losing someone. It could really narrow down to anything. But it also has to be a little believable that they would be this unhinged about it. So that would be the first thing. Figure out their motivation.
Yeah, and honestly, the first villain that comes to mind in this kind of thing is not even one that people would normally consider a villain because he's technically the protagonist, and that is Dr. Frankenstein. He was straight up a villain. He was blamed for particular evil or difficulty with the monster that he created, but he was also the protagonist of that book. So, again, like we said, antagonist and villain is not always equal the same thing. But his motivation was science, which a lot of people would say is not emotional at all, but given his passion for the subject, yeah, it kind of was. So I think motivation it taps into something emotional, and it may be seem like the villain is very cold and calculating and doesn't have any emotion, but when you look back at what their motivation is, there's whether it's a passion for justice, think Thanos from the Marvel universe, a passion for equality. There's something there. People, characters have feelings. Otherwise, it's really hard for them to be relatable.
Yeah. I mean, just using your Frankenstein, right? He wanted to bend the rules of nature. He wanted to bring back the dead. And it makes you have to wonder why. I mean, I haven't read Frankenstein. So I don't know if his motivation is spelled out for you and why he wants to do this, but I'm sure there was one. You never know. I mean, and it could be just the love of science and wanting to figure out the mysteries of the world and the universe and how you can break that. That is a motivation. So, I mean, and most not antagonists, villains will have typically some tragic ass backstory for something that caused them to be the way they are. I mean, granted, Frankenstein didn't, potentially. I don't really know. But yes, a lot of villains tend to have really tragic ass backstories, and those somehow, in some way, shape their motivations later on.
If I remember correctly, and don't come at me, it's been a long time since I've read Frankenstein, but I'm pretty sure if I remember right, he was a spoiled ass little rich bitch. So
Oh.
no real tragic backstory there.
No tragic backstory except the fact that, well, I just want it. I want to do this. And no one can tell me no.
Yeah, kind of. If I remember correctly. Again, it has been a while, but I don't remember there being any like tragic loss in his life as to why he wanted to break the rules and create his own life. I don't remember that. That was a really weird sound.
Yeah, my phone just went off, and it shouldn't have. Oh, technology never fails. It
God, it
never
always
fails and
fails.
always fails.
It never fails to fail.
It never fails to fail. Um, oh yeah, so their motivation is what's going to be what drives them to do what they do. And that was what would tip the scales on, antagonist versus villain and all that good jazz. So that'd be fun. And their end goals. What is their end goal? You have to think about that as well. What is their purpose? You have your motivation. Now, what are they going to do with it? Where are they trying to end? At what point? What is their end goal?
Yeah, I mean, is it the villain who you think is the romance character because they're burning the world down to save this person or to bring this person back from the dead? Or is it your typical like Sauron from the Lord of the Rings? He just wants to rule the fucking world. I'm sure there's more reasons behind that, but since I've never read the Silmarillion, I don't know.
Yeah.
I barely got through Lord of the Rings.
I haven't read the books and I sat through the movies and I was not a fan. So there goes my knowledge of how much I know about that. Um,
That is fair. So yeah,
yeah.
it could be a variety of end goals. It could be world breaking, world changing, or it could be something small and private. Maybe the villain is someone that has this grudge against the hero or the protagonist and just wants to see them suffer, and it's focused on just one person. But
Yeah.
to be fair, to make someone suffer, they have to care about something. And you have to usually hurt the things they care about, which does tend to include people. So
Yeah.
while they may just be trying to make this one person suffer, it could definitely spread out into a wider range.
Yeah. And I know this is kind of off topic, but this keeps like running through my head as I'm sitting here. Your villain is only a villain depending on the point of view. There are people throughout history that have been pinned as villains that actually had good reasons for doing what they did. Or they were fighting back against, some established force of government or whatever. And they were pinned the villain when in reality, it is basically, you're going based off one point of view. So keep that in mind. Your villain may have something that they're fighting for or have a motivation for that seems righteous or whatever, like a good reason in their head. But if you're the other person, you're going to see them as the villain. So if you want to do that, kind of like Frankenstein was the protagonist and the villain, he brought life and did this great, amazing feat of science, which to him, this is amazing. This is great. Everyone would celebrate this. But then, you're the townspeople and you're like, whoa, brother, you're bringing back dead people. Like, calm down. So, point of view will also determine who your villain is. And, you could have something like Game of Thrones, which I think is why it became so popular, is everyone was a villain. And from every point of view you look at, you almost always understand why they were doing what they were doing. And that's what made that story so good is, oh, I get why they're doing it. And it makes sense. But they're still terrible people.
It doesn't make it right.
No, it definitely doesn't make it right. But it makes it believable. It makes you understand why they're doing what they're doing. And in your head, you're like, oh, I can see why they're doing it. Doesn't make them right. Doesn't make them good. But that's what makes a believable villain, is understanding their backstory and being able to see that progression and going, damn, yeah, I kind of see why they're like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of ties into motivation in a roundabout way.
No, it's totally fair. That is the point of view is we should probably do an episode purely on point of view, honestly, because it can affect. So I know there are multiple books that have been written from the same story from the different opposing points of view. I know 50 Shades of Grey did it. They had the point of view from the whatever his name was.
Christian
They
Grey?
was it? I
I,
never read the
I
book.
don't know.
I
I
don't
never read it either.
know. I've seen a couple of authors out there that they wrote the book twice from each point of view and they packaged it together so that you started on one side with one point of view, you turned it over and you went from that side with the other point of view. So it's point of view is definitely a priority in how the villain and how they interact
Yeah.
and who the villain is and why they're doing what they do. So
Yeah. Um, and moving on from that is, what is their relationship to the protagonist? Why is your villain specifically narrowing their sights on the protagonist in this situation? So this also could be a range of things. It's going to depend on their motivation and if this, are they, do they have a prior relationship? Do they have a past together that, you know, they have gone against each other? Maybe they're academic rivals and they've always been pit up against each other. And that deep-seated grudge because they just happen to be better at everything, it just festers. That could be something. They have that prior relationship and now they're adults and now they're come up against each other again for whatever reason. And you're like, this motherfucker. No, I'm just and they're just like you said, I'm going to make them suffer because I have been cast in their shadow for as long as I can remember. So you have to start deciding how they know each other or if they know each other.
I think to me, one of the best and closest examples I can think of that is Gage from The Secret Society because he was a villain who knew Amy and Charles and wanted to make them suffer. And that's why he did what he did. And that was definitely personal.
Yeah.
And that was revenge for him. That wasn't him being motivated by anything but his own selfish need to be better than
Yep.
them.
That and, Charles really fucking up his life. Getting him kicked out of school and his parents cut him off and all that shit. So, yeah, there was that deep-seated grudge from the past that he was like, oh, well, now I see an opportunity. I'm going to take it. So, yeah. Do they know each other?
Forgot
Do they
about
not?
that.
Yeah. That doesn't come out until the second book. And even Amy was like, wait, what? You did what? He's like, we had a problem. I handled it. I got rid of him. What?
Yeah, not extreme at all, Charles.
No, oh, definitely not. Just a little plagiarism potential shit and getting kicked out of school. This is a little something. He didn't know the
It's a
parents
little
were going
something,
to cut him
something.
off. He just got him kicked out of school. But anyways, do your antagonists or does your villain and your protagonist even know each other? Is this like, I'm going after you because of proximity? Does this person work for a company they don't like? And, whoever gets in the way, it becomes a problem. So there is that too. They may not actually know each other, but maybe their values are misaligned and that puts them at odds.
I'm gonna pull from another close example. Brenna was collateral damage for Kira.
Yeah.
She didn't know who she was. She didn't know what she was doing to her. Brenna came out of nowhere to Kira, the villain,
Mm-hmm.
and it was purely collateral. She happened to slaughter the wrong village and kidnap the wrong child.
Yeah, she did. What are the odds?
Right? I know. It's like I set it up or something.
Almost. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, they didn't know each other, but she just had a mission and she pissed off the wrong person. And so that person was like, all right, well, I'm involved now. So, and that's how you get that set up.
Or since my book technically isn't out yet, so people don't know this, Taken with Liam Neeson. They just kidnapped the wrong chick
Yep.
and had the wrong, took the wrong person, and that brought it down on their heads.
Yeah. It's definitely that wrong place, wrong time situation that can be the start of everything.
Yeah, so the villain may have no idea who your protagonist is and just suddenly find themselves at the end of a sword going, who the fuck are you?
Yeah. Or one that's really fun, which I think we see probably quite often in fantasy or romantasy, is fate has set them up to be against each other from the start. Like, you have been fated. There was a prophecy, something along those lines, that you will be coming up against someone. For example, the Great Hunt. We're reading Robert Jordan's The Great Hunt, and that is literally, it's a prophecy. He is going to come up against the great evil, the dark one, and that is fated. It's going to happen. They have no say in it at this point. So they're like, well, I guess we're enemies now. Let's do this.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's do this.
Another example would be, Harry Potter and Voldemort. They are fated to be against each other. Just is what it is. So, yeah, that's a fun one.
I hate to promote that particular piece of literature, but I do remember one funny story, a little off topic, but the prophecy was that Harry Potter would only be killed by Voldemort, or they would kill each other. I don't remember the exact prophecy or something. But I'm always seeing these comics of once Harry Potter finds this out, him at the top of the astronomy tower in a shopping cart, like, only Voldemort can kill me, right? And Ron's like, yep, and pushes him down the stairs.
Jackass. I'm Harry Potter, and welcome to Jackass.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. I know I use Harry Potter often but it's just like one of the things that I grew up watching and stuff like that. So it's like right there all the time, even though I don't support the author's views at all. Ever. Ew.
Right. Agreed. But still, funny story.
It is funny. That just cracks me up, though. It's just like, so I can't die? Let's do some crazy shit.
Exactly. I mean, man. Why not, man? That's the only way he's gonna die. Might as well.
Jeez. Well, that would bring us to our witchy tip, unless there was some other one that you could think of that may have popped up as we were speaking.
No. Now all I can think of is Harry Potter going down the stairs on a shopping cart.
Like I said, you said that, my head went to Jackass 100%. And it's fun. Total side note, but it was funny because I was watching something. They were like, kids need Jackass again. We need kids to start acting like that again. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think Broken Bones would be a good idea.
Not really. No, prefer not.
Yeah. Anyways, back to the witchy tip. We haven't talked about deities in a while, so we figured we would talk about devotional acts. A lot of the times you hear that when you start working with a deity, you need to give them offerings. And a lot of the times people think physical offerings. So, I don't know, maybe your deity likes a certain type of wine or beer or I don't know. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to give this to them. But sometimes those can look like devotional acts. You are doing something in the name of your deity. So, for example, I work with Hecate, so I often light a candle while I'm writing. I know she has pushed and pushed for me to be on this path. So when I am writing, I will light her candle to let her know, like, the work you have done to get me here was not for naught. I am doing what you have guided me to do. But also, she is often seen with dogs. So, donating to an animal shelter, or if you can, adopt a dog, a black dog, if you want to be super specific. Um, so, there are things that you can do that are related to your deities, and doing them in honor of them is a great way to build that relationship with your deity through small devotional acts.
I know one of mine is I have a half sleeve of ink that somehow represented each one of the deities that I work with. And every morning I place a hand on the figure that represents that deity and thank them for their patronage. That is
That's
just a
awesome.
daily habit ritual that I have come to do every morning. And if I don't do it in the morning, I don't feel right.
They're like, excuse me, you didn't say thank you this morning. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much. They're all four of them are like that, not gonna lie.
They're a little side eye, like, really?
So yeah, just uh acknowledging them and making it a depending on the deity you're working with, maybe they want that constant type of thankfulness or devotional act. And then I do try to do bigger ones periodically, like I did the money bowl
Yeah.
with the candle. I light the candle when I am writing to honor one of them and ask for their assistance. And this isn't devotional per se, but if you notice, I always have a braid, and that is dedicated to them. And I ask for their protection every morning and their guidance, and that
Oh,
is
that's
wrapped
awesome.
up into that braid. That is why I wear it.
Like, I've noticed
So
it sometimes, but other times your hair falls in front of it, so I don't see it. But that's awesome.
yeah, it's that is more me asking them for help than me doing it devotional, but it is, I'm still speaking to them every day.
Yeah.
So
Sick. So, yeah, that is our witchy tip. Whatever deity you are working with, learn what their devotional acts are. It can really help build that relationship between you and your deity. So you do have that presence you can feel even when you don't do what you're supposed to do. Like, I know there's been times where Hecte's probably rolling her eyes at me so hard when I don't do what I'm supposed to do. And she's just like, "Ugh, again, seriously." So, yeah, find out what those are, and they could be simple ones. I mean, I know some deities like a lot, but I'm sure there are some simple ones in there. So, yeah.
yeah, like the what I do every morning. I didn't read a book. I just it did what felt right and me wanting to acknowledge their presence.
Yeah. It was simple. Just saying thanks. Just showing a little appreciation. I'm just kidding.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah. I mean, it never hurts to just say thank you.
Yeah.
It
And
feels
acknowledge
nice.
that they're there and helping you.
Yeah, for sure. So, jumping back into our villains, making believable villains. Um, Appearance. How visible is this villain going to be? Now, you could do something where they're anonymous. Maybe they go full saw on your ass and you have no idea what they look like. They're working behind the curtain, if you will. So there's that where they can be a little anonymous and you don't really know who it is. Or are they going to be more subtle? Or, how are they going to show up in your books is really where you can start looking now.
Maybe they're your protagonist's best friend. And so that appearance is very subtle because for all that they look like a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
probably. Or it could be your goth sunshine relationship where they don't look like a good guy at all.
Yep. We love those though.
We do
I
love those.
mean, for a good example, right? When we were reading Pumpkin Spice Cafe, the villain ended up being someone that was very close to the protagonist, and she went to them for help. She was asking them, hey, this happened, can you help me? And they had framed it to where they weren't the villain, only to find out that they were, which, I mean, I saw kind of from a mile away, but yeah. So you could potentially set your villain to be helpful, but maybe behind their back, they're slowly sabotaging the protagonist. But you don't know that. You don't know who it is. And it just so happens to always happen or be there. So they could be very subtle. Or are you going to be like Sauron and you're just going to sit up in a mountain and send out hordes of armies? Yeah. And you're just like, I'm going to make it very known. I'm the villain.
Yep. Or oh, what is the name of the movie with the guy that's supposedly the villain, but he's not really the villain? It's blue and he's dramatic and always has really dramatic presentations when he's fighting the hero. And oh, what is the name of it?
Is it like a superhero movie?
Yeah, it was an animated superhero
Oh,
movie.
animated, I
Um,
don't know.
Megamind. Megamind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe your villain is. I mean, technically, he was the villain at the
Yeah.
beginning, anyway. So
And that's the thing is maybe your villain, I mean, you end up having villains that become useful, right? For example, I'm watching Supernatural with my kids and eventually Crowley comes on and he is technically a villain. Lucifer is technically a villain. They're supposed to be these people that are bad and getting in the way and doing these terrible things, but eventually, you know, the guys start working with Crowley. They see that is a mutual enemy or, you know, a mutual problem that they're like, well, maybe we should probably work together. And then we can go back to fighting each other. So there is that too, that maybe there is a bigger problem that your protagonist and your villain hook up on and decide to beat it out of the way, and then they can get back to fighting. Back to just the squabbling, you know? There is that option too.
or maybe your villain is someone that actually genuinely was a friend to the hero until something happened to make them turn against the hero or your protagonist. The one that I can think of the most about that is I hate this book, but I did read it, Aragon by Christopher Paolini. There are multiple reasons I don't like this book, but I'm not going to go into them right now. But the guy that Aragon met along the way that was turning out to be his best friend ended up being the son of the main villain and ended up joining his father to become a villain. I assume that's
Mm.
what happened. I never read the second and third books because I couldn't get through the first one barely, but that was the implication.
You'll have to explain to me why you dislike this book, because I see it everywhere. Everywhere I go, I see it.
I have multiple reasons.
Well, you could tell me after.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so yeah, your villain can show up in various ways throughout the book, and that can be really fun to play with. The dynamics and the way you set your book up, it can lead to some very interesting endings, if you will. Um,
And also remember, there can be more than one villain in your book.
yeah,
Maybe there's the obvious one, and then maybe there's the unnoticed one.
yeah,
And maybe they're all working together, or they don't know that the other one exists. So just so that's why we were emphasizing earlier, antagonist does not always equal villain, and
yeah,
villain does not always equal antagonist.
yeah. Because you could have someone that is an antagonist that is in the way and maybe butting heads with your character, but may not necessarily be the big bad. You know what I mean? They're just more of a nuisance, which would technically be the antagonist. I'm trying to think of a good example on that. but nothing's coming to mind.
Uh, off the top of my head, no.
Yeah,
Nothing's coming to mind either.
brain is not braining right now.
Words are hard.
I need to check my mail and see if that came through. Um, and then you have to decide the morals of this villain. Are their morals technically similar to your hero, but maybe they are going about it in a different way? So they could have similar morals. Maybe they value family. Maybe, I don't know how many times. Good example, okay? The Last of Us. Both of them value the families that they have made or have. And then Ellie and Joel end up killing Abby's dad, who was supposed to perform a surgery. And then that sends Abby to go kill Joel. So they are going after each other because their motivations and their morals of valuing family and that connection sends them on a killing spree of each other, essentially. So they may have similar morals, but you are just on the wrong end of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, I can definitely. I've never seen or played The Last of Us, so I can't speak to it. But the, I mean, that's kind of Romeo and Juliet, the Capulets and the
Montagues.
Montagues value family and value
Mm-hmm.
reputation. Their morals are the same. They just are rivals and have that age-old grudge between them and end up going against each other.
Yeah, there is that. It's just, again, same morals, but they're rivals, or something is put them against each other. Or, the morals are complete opposite, which is an easier route, I would say, in setting up a villain versus a hero story. You know, maybe one values love and kindness and peace, and the other one's like, hell to that, burn the world down, chaos, murder. You know what I mean? So that would be opposites, and they would become enemies, and one is definitely the villain.
Pull a sword on a little gnome shopkeeper.
And then you have to be the one to say, excuse me, let's calm down a little. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it is probably a lot easier to set up the hero versus villain story if they are opposite morals. So, if one values not killing people and then the other does, I mean, a good example of that, Batman. Batman doesn't like killing people, but his villains do. They're not on the same moral compass, anywhere near the same.
No. No,
So
no.
that makes a very easy, hey, you're the villain, I'm the hero situation.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best example I think we've come up with is Batman versus his rogues gallery, for sure. You could
Yeah.
say the same thing about Superman.
Yeah,
So,
that is true. Um, which then, with your villains, you have to decide, okay, they have a similar or different moral compass than its hero. What are their morals? Are they morally black, where they do not have any regard for anyone or anything? They're going to do what they want, selfish means, and anyone that gets in the way of that, ta-ta.
but bad.
Bye. Or are they morally gray, where they are doing terrible things for good reasons in their mind? So they think that by doing, it's that saying that uh, good people sometimes have to do bad things for good things to happen, right? So what is their morals? Where are they going to land on that spectrum?
Yeah. Yeah, it's are they totally selfish or do they have a speck of respect left for other people? That's kind of where you're gonna figure out where they fall on that shade of moral compass there. Well,
Yeah.
are they totally down the deep end? They don't give a shit. They're just gonna slaughter to get what they want, no matter what gets in the way. Or will they actually have respect for some of the people in their lives?
Yeah. The age-old question.
So, right? Are you gonna kill me or not?
Yeah, pretty much. Are we doing this or are you going to let me go? So yeah. Is there anything else you could think of for the villains?
No, I mean that. I'm sure there you can go on and on and on for villains, but I don't think we want to make this a 2-hour episode, personally. So
No. But I think all in all, for a good villain, make their backstory believable and give them good motivation and decide where their morals are. And that will help you really narrow down to a good villain.
make it believable.
Yeah.
That's what makes a good villain.
Yeah. If there's a tragic backstory of, the person's family died in a house fire, they're probably not going to go and, use fire. Or
Probably
maybe they
not.
do. I don't know. But make it make sense, That's all we ask.
Mhm.
A crumb of sense.
Just a crumb.
Just a crumb. So that would be the end of this episode, and that would bring us to book reviews. And I have one. Do you have a book review?
Yay! I do. If you want me to go first, I will.
That's fine. Go for it.
So I was back on the graphic novel train, and I read Delilah Dirk and the Turkish Lieutenant by
Ooh.
Tony Cliff. Some of this story, female Indiana Jones in like the Middle East
Sick.
in like mid-Roman period
Mm-hmm.
that has a boat that flies.
Whoa.
I
Cool.
know, right?
I want a boat that flies.
I'm not gonna argue with that one at all. It was definitely Indiana Jones themed, rip roaring adventure, getting out of stuff. Um, Delilah Dirk is absolutely adorable, and I love her dearly. And I love that she is a rich trust fund baby that went and learned all of these skills specifically so she could go across the world looting and pillaging as she wanted to, basically.
Sounds about right.
And just because she could. And I love it for that. And
Yeah.
that it's a woman. And that she has her little tantrum fits when something doesn't go her way, like massively, and she can't immediately see a way out of it. She just.
She's
It's
like, this is
hilarious.
not supposed to happen this way.
Exactly. It's literally what she says at one point. It was hilarious.
That's so funny. That's hilarious.
So yeah, I would definitely pick it up if you're able to find it. It is hilarious. I think there's another book after it or before it. I'm not sure. I picked this up from um my my pony book club. Um wait, what? I was totally wrong. It's not mid-Roman period. It's the 1800s. I'm so sorry. I just opened it up to like the first page and it says 1807.
Oh my goodness.
I was way off. My bad.
Jeez. Just a little, just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Yeah, I can't tell time periods. Don't ask me to do this. Give me a date and then I'll tell you what time period it is.
There you go. So were you done or I'm just
No, that was it. That was it.
Okay. I didn't want to cut you off if you were going to say something else. So I read Seventh Circle by Tate James. And this follows Hades, who this is a lot. Hades, who slaughtered her father and her old gang and then took it over and is now running a chain of nightclubs so she can launder money for other gangs in the area because she doesn't do drugs, like sells drugs. She's like the money launderer gang. And her clubs are a legitimate way to do that, according to her.
Gotcha.
Um, I honestly would rate this like a 3.5, 3.5. It's not bad, but it's giving edgelord so hard. The amount of time she has to reiterate, yeah, everyone's scared of me, and, you know, they cower before me, and I'm so scary and big and bad, and I'll put a bullet in their head, and blah, blah, blah. Like, but then as soon as someone backtalks her, she's like, oh, I'll let them deal with it this time, and I'm not going to do anything. And I'm like, oh my, it was just starting to get to be a lot. It is giving edgelord so hard. Like, I'm big, bad, and scary, so be scared of me. Granted, she does shoot a couple people straight in the face and murder them later on, but it's just the constant repetition of, ooh, I'm big and scary, so be scared. That kind of got to me. This book is very heavily spiced. There's a lot, and don't get me wrong, I love good smut, but I found myself skimming through the smut because it wasn't anything extremely spectacular or unique. And there is one point where you question the age of said male character. Says he's 21, and next thing you know, he's at her sister's high school in uniform. And you're like, oh my gosh, he's jailbait. Thankfully, he was not. And she's only 23, and he's 18, but still iffy. But he lied about his age, so I'm still iffy on that. Feels a little gross. Because if it was reversed, I would still think the dude was a little gross too. So it was a lot. There's a lot of different storylines running through here. I believe this is going to be a Why Choose series. And there, I was explaining to my husband, I was like, the plot is a thin thread of sewing string where the smut is a giant boat rope. Like, I want the plot to be a little bit bigger. And I did get the second book purely because of the last, like, 2 chapters. Things start happening that something happens with her ex that she killed in the massacre of her father's gang. And all of a sudden she starts getting things showing up in the paper and things happening where it's leading her to believe that the man that she literally shot in the face point blank and murdered and then lit the house on fire is not really dead. And that part was juicy. I was like, wait, what? They even went to this man's grave and dug it up, and it was empty. So I was like, okay, I can't leave it at that. Like, I need to know what happened. So I had to get the second book. So what little plot there was, it was intriguing. So if you want a little plot and a lot of smut, maybe pick it up. You might enjoy it. I don't know. But the edgelord stuff was getting a little bit much for me, and I was like, okay, we get it. You're big, bad, and scary. So, yeah. That was Seventh Circle by Tate James. So.
Noted.
Yeah. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. So it was just like, yeah, it's entertaining, I guess.
I will just wait and hear the rest of the story from you later.
Yeah. It was all right. It was all right. So that brings us to the end of this episode. You can find us at writingwithwitches.com, and you can email us at writingwithwitches@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok as Writing with Witches. We also have a Discord server. I don't know if we're going to stick with that with some of the updates with Discord. As of right now, it's still up. well, that remains to be seen at this point. So the fate of the Discord server is up in the air as we speak. um, you can find me at all the aforementioned places as author Nicole Autumn. My website and email, all that good shit will be linked down below for you. My brain. Oh my god. So sorry.
Okay, I guess it's my turn.
Yes, sorry. I told you, my brain. Yes, your turn. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
You can find me at my website, leonaurbanskiauthor.com, or my Substack, leonaurbanskiauthor.substack.com, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. Come follow, come join the Substack. We have more art. It will be coming out soon, I swear, before the end of February, because that's where we're filming right now.
Yeah. We will have an update for you. We promise.
We swear.
We swear. So next episode, we will be talking about making your readers cry because we love to do that. So, thank you for watching and or listening this episode. Have a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.